The white silk of Ella Monroe's dress cascaded over her honey-golden skin like a whisper, like the promise of a new life just waiting to begin. She turned slowly in the mirror, adjusting the delicate folds at her waist with slightly trembling fingers. The dress was no ordinary gown. It was a limited edition Elisab couture piece, ordered through a quiet little boutique in Soho. Made of imported Italian silk, hand-sewn French lace sleeves, and a line of mother-of-pearl buttons trailing down the back, the dress fit her like a whispered blessing. Crystals from Swarovski shimmered subtly at the waist, catching light with every movement. It was opulent without being loud, timeless but daring. She had taken on extra commissions, weekend illustration gigs, and even sold limited prints of her children's book art just to afford it. She didn't wear it for anyone else. Tonight, she wore it for herself, to feel worthy of the kind of love she believed still existed. Ryan Blake, her boyfriend of 2 years, had sent a cryptic text earlier that day. "Tonight will be the beginning of everything. Room 2907, I'll show you the man you deserve." He said he'd just sealed a massive investment deal. Ella had imagined this would be the moment. Perhaps a new ring, flowers, maybe even a hidden photographer capturing his second proposal. She had dared to believe this night might be the start of forever. Before heading to the Ritz-Carlton, Ella stopped at her parents' modest home in Brooklyn. Her mother, Marilyn, a part-time seamstress, had tears in her eyes the moment she saw the dress. "You look like a dream, Ella," she whispered. "That man better understand what a gift he's been given." Ella smiled gently, fixing a loose curl. "He does, Mama. He really does." Her father, Richard, a quiet woodworker, didn't look up from his paper, but his voice carried weight. A real man protects a woman's dignity. Never trade it, no matter how shiny the promise. Ella bent and kissed his cheek. "Don't worry. Ryan loves me. I believe in him." The Ritz-Carlton glowed with soft amber light. Ella's Louboutin nude heels clicked gently against the marble lobby floor as piano music drifted from the restaurant below. She caught her reflection in the elevator mirror. Hair curled to perfection, makeup flawless in burgundy tones. Her finger brushed the small diamond of her original engagement ring. It wasn't big, but it had once meant everything. Room 2907. She knocked gently, heart pounding. She pictured Ryan kneeling again, a new ring in hand, maybe candlelight, maybe roses. But the door that opened did not reveal Ryan. Instead, a tall, older man with slicked-back silver hair and an unsettling smile stood in a silk robe, parted the chest. Well, he rasped. "Ryan really knows how to pick them. You're exquisite. Come in, darling. We've got all night." Ella froze. "I'm sorry, I think I have the wrong room. I'm looking for Ryan Blake." "You've got the right room," the man said. Marshall Crane, she would learn later. "Ryan and I have a deal. I just invested $1.8 million in his struggling company. You are my personal thank you." The world tilted. "No," Ella said, voice cracking. He wouldn't." "Oh, sweetheart," Marshall chuckled. "Men sell their souls when they've got nothing left. And Ryan, he had one valuable thing left. You." He reached for her wrist. She jerked away. The delicate lace at her sleeve tore. Cold air kissed her bare shoulder. She screamed and, without thinking, drove her knee upward. Marshall collapsed with a moan of pain. She ran. Her heels clattered across the marble floor as she burst from the hotel into the freezing night rain, tears mixing with the downpour. She didn't know where she was going. She only knew that the man she once loved had just sold her like property. The rain came down in hard, relentless sheets, like torn pages from a story Ella Monroe never wanted to be part of. Her soaked white silk gown clung to her frame like a funeral shroud. Her heels slid over the slick pavement, her curls now tangled, her makeup a ghost of what it was. Her eyes stared forward, blank and devastated. No one stopped. Not in this massive city. No one paused for a woman unraveling in the street. People glanced and moved on, assuming she was a runaway bride, a heartbroken woman with drama dripping off her gown. None of them knew she'd just been sold. Like merchandise, for money. Her legs gave out in front of a granite office building. She collapsed onto the cold, wet steps, pulled her knees up to her chest, and let the rain do the crying for her. She didn't sob. She didn't even have the strength for that anymore. She simply folded. Then, a pair of glossy Italian leather shoes stopped in front of her. Ella didn't look up. Another rich man passing by. Another moment to be ignored. But this one didn't pass. He knelt down. A sleek black umbrella opened above her, shielding her from the storm. A voice, low and calm, drifted to her ears. "Are you okay?" She said nothing. He didn't touch her. Didn't place a hand on her arm or brush her soaked curls from her face. He simply sat beside her, right there on the wet stone, and let his clothes absorb the cold. Ella glanced sideways. He wore a charcoal gray Tom Ford suit, perfectly tailored. The fabric shimmered faintly under the street lamp, luxurious but subtle. His white shirt was crisp, the collar sharp. A thin black silk tie hung in a classic knot. Even rain-streaked, he looked composed, steady, as though the storm couldn't reach him. "I don't need pity," Ella murmured, her voice raw from cold and grief. "I'm not pitying you," he replied softly. "I just don't think anyone should sit in the rain alone." She turned to fully see him for the first time. He wasn't conventionally handsome, but there was something magnetic about him, his stillness, his presence, the kind of face you could trust before you even meant to. "Who are you?" she asked. "Lucas," he said. "Lucas Hart." "Ella," she replied. "Nice to meet you, Ella, even if under strange circumstances." She gave a short, bitter laugh. "My boyfriend just sold me to an old man in exchange for funding. If you think this is strange, you haven't met my trauma." Lucas didn't flinch. He didn't press. He gave her the rarest gift of all, space. "Would you like me to call you a car?" he asked after a pause. Ella shook her head. "I don't want to go home. My parents will ask questions. I can't fall apart in front of them." Lucas nodded, then gently removed his tailored wool overcoat and placed it around her shoulders. It was heavy, warm. It smelled faintly of cedar and paper, like a man who lived in schedules and self-discipline. "I know a place," he said. "Quiet, not far. You won't have to say a word. You can just breathe." She hesitated. She should have said no. She'd always been taught to avoid strangers. But his eyes, still, steady, and completely unthreatening, made her nod. "Okay." They walked into the storm. The large umbrella tilted slightly toward her. She leaned against his arm, not out of love, not out of trust, but because she was too tired to stand on her own. The apartment Lucas brought Ella to sat quietly at the top floor of a building in Chelsea. It wasn't some flashy hotel, no lobby cameras or doormen, just a clean, open space bathed in warm golden light, with the faint scent of oak wood and fresh paper lingering in the air. Lucas didn't talk much. He let her step inside first, allowed her to choose her own corner. Ella chose the armchair by the window, where she could look out at a city now sleeping under the rain. He returned moments later with a thick towel and a simple set of clothes, a clean white t-shirt and cotton lounge pants. No offers to help her change, no inappropriate glances, just one human trying to offer a sliver of kindness to another who'd lost all trust in the world. "There's chamomile tea or hot chocolate," he said from the kitchen, "or wine if you'd rather burn tonight out of your system faster." Ella chose tea. Her hand still trembled slightly as she wrapped them around the ceramic cup. She stared at him. "Why are you doing this, bringing me here?" Not asking, not expecting. Lucas sat across from her, arms folded. "Because I've been the one sitting in the rain, alone, no umbrella offered." The simplicity of it made her pause. She had no response, only silence, and the heat from the tea. That night, she slept on the long couch in his living room. Lucas gave her a thick blanket and clean pillow, then disappeared into his bedroom and never returned. Nothing happened. No touches, no manipulations, no suggestions, only a quiet kindness, something Ella didn't know she needed until then. In the days that followed, Ella lived inside a strange stillness between storms. Lucas never pressed her to share. He only texted sometimes. Coffee or waffles just came out at the corner place. Always simple, always her choice. One afternoon, he messaged, "Coffee, 4?" and she went. They sat in a small cafe where Lucas seemed to be a regular. He ordered a cappuccino. She ordered mint tea. They didn't talk about pain. They talked about books, about art, about the stray cats that slept near the subway station. Lucas listened more than he spoke. He never tried to be her hero, her healer, or her replacement. He was just present. And Ella? She started breathing easier whenever he was near. One afternoon, as she was rolling up canvases for a gallery delivery, Ella received an email. Someone had bought her entire In Bloom collection, the set she painted in her darkest hours. She froze. No one had ever bought more than 2 paintings in one go, let alone 10. Attached was a note. "The world needs this kind of beauty. Don't stop painting," a passerby. She didn't know who it was, but somewhere in her heart, she had a quiet guess. That night, Ella called Lucas. "I owe you dinner," she said without explanation. He paused for a moment, then smiled. "I'll only accept if I get to choose dessert." They met at a small Italian place with candles, soft jazz, and a tiramisu Lucas claimed was good enough to make you forget what hurt tastes like. She wore a simple teal midi dress. For the first time, she didn't wear heavy makeup, and still, she felt enough. He arrived the same way he always did, low-key, polite, and steady in the way only a safe man could be. At the end of the meal, Lucas looked at her, unflinching. "I won't ask what Ella before went through, but I hope Ella now knows she's not someone else's mistake." Ella met his gaze. Her eyes didn't flinch this time. "Thank you," she whispered, "for giving me space to be broken, without being judged." Late autumn sunlight washed Central Park in a warm, fading amber. Ella Monroe sat quietly on the picnic blanket next to Lucas Hart, surrounded by rustling leaves and the faint scent of dried chrysanthemums. Their fingers brushed occasionally, not intentionally, but without discomfort. A kind of calm had settled between them, gentle, uncertain, and oddly sacred. Lucas opened the picnic basket he'd prepared with meticulous care. Grilled chicken sandwiches with honey mustard, apple goat cheese salad, and 2 bottles of small batch apple cider he claimed were better than wine for sunsets. Ella laughed, her eyes catching the sunlight. "You really over-prepare," she said, biting into a slice of apple. "Nobody brings a cheese board to the park." "Exactly," Lucas replied. "That's why I do." They both laughed. For the first time, Ella's laugh wasn't held back by guilt. It felt light, almost too light. But inside, something was still trembling. Something she couldn't name, like a quiet storm gathering just beneath her skin. As the sun dipped below the skyline, painting the world in crimson and gold, Lucas turned to her. His voice was soft. Too soft. "Ella." "Hmm?" He swallowed. "Ella, I think I've fallen in love with you." The words dropped into the air like a stone into still water, but for Ella, it felt like an explosion. She froze. The bite of salad hovered at her lips, then dropped back to the plate. Her hand tightened around the fork, then let it go. Her eyes went unfocused. For a moment, it was like her mind disconnected from her body. She could hear the wind, the leaves, distant laughter, but all of it sounded warped, far away, like echoes in a dream. "Ella?" Lucas said again, softer. "No," she whispered. "No, don't." Lucas paused, startled. Ella stood abruptly, taking a few shaky steps away. Her chest felt like it was caving in. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might stop. Her eyes stung, her breath caught in sharp, panicked bursts. You can't love me," she said, pacing, barely able to look at him. "I can't be loved right now. I'm not ready. I'm not whole." Lucas stood but didn't follow. "Ella, you're not—" "Don't," she cried, hands raised as if warding him off. "You don't understand. I still see that night. I still hear his voice. I still remember calling Ryan over and over while he let it ring. I remember believing he was my home. I painted my future on someone who didn't even deserve my name." Her voice cracked, her face flushed, tears breaking free. "And when you said you loved me, I didn't hear your voice. I heard his. I heard his promises, his lies. I felt that room, that man, the deal I never agreed to. I felt dirty, broken, unworthy." Lucas stood still, watching her with quiet pain. Ella lowered her gaze. "I'm scared that if I believe again, I'll lose everything again." The silence between them thickened. Then Lucas stepped closer. Just one pace. Not touching. Just close enough to be heard. "You're allowed to be scared," he said. "Allowed to not be ready. But you're also allowed to be loved. Even after everything." Ella trembled. She didn't answer. She just stood there like a bird unsure if it should fly or hide forever. Lucas lowered his voice. "I won't move closer unless you want me to. I won't say it again unless you're ready to hear it. I'll just stay when you need me." Ella wiped her face, drawing in a long, uneven breath. "I can't love you, not now." Lucas nodded. "I'm not loving you for a reward. I love you even if you don't love me back. I'm not here to win. I'm here to stay." For the first time in months, Ella felt something not shatter, but settle, like a wound finally clotting beneath the skin. She sat back down on the blanket, not looking at Lucas, just pouring more cider into her cup. And Lucas, he sat too, not too close, not too far, just enough. Enough to remind her that somehow he was still there. The morning sky over New York was clear and sharp. Ella woke to the sound of birds chirping off-key outside her window. She brewed her usual cup of coffee and opened her laptop. Nothing unusual until she saw a new email from the gallery. Payment confirmation in Bloom collection completed. She clicked, expecting a generic update, but this time there was an attachment labeled Buyer Details. A flicker of curiosity nudged her. Then her heart stopped. Lucas Hart. His name appeared clearly, first and last, not a nickname, not anonymous. His full name, office billing address, and payment record. Lucas was the one who had purchased all 10 of her paintings, quietly, completely. Ella froze in place. She stared at the screen as if it might blink away and say she'd imagined it. Her breath slowed. Her fingers loosened from the mouse. She stood, walked to the window, and opened it wide, but the crisp winter air didn't soothe her. "He didn't tell me. He controlled the outcome. Is he different from Ryan or just better at hiding it?" The question spiraled fast, sharp as glass. Her stomach churned. Her chest tightened with something bitter. She picked up the phone and called him. "Lucas." Her voice was dry, flat. "Hey, Ella," he answered, calm as ever. "Everything okay?" A pause. "You're the one who bought all of my paintings, aren't you?" Lucas hesitated. There was a beat of silence. Then, "Yes." "And you never said a word, not once." "I was going to, I just didn't know when." "When?" she snapped. "Why not the moment it happened?" He exhaled. "I didn't want you to misunderstand. I didn't want it to seem like I was trying to buy your approval. I just wanted to help. I wanted you to keep going." "Help?" she laughed, cold, incredulous. "You helped by deceiving me? By constructing an illusion where I thought people were finally seeing my work when it was just you pulling the strings?" "Now, Ella, you're wrong. You didn't trust me enough to tell me. Just like Ryan. Always deciding what's best for me without asking. Don't compare me to him." But what's the difference, Lucas? Her voice shook. You both took away my agency. You made decisions for me, about me, without me. Even if your intentions were kind, the effect is the same. I feel small. Lucas said nothing, and that silence, meant to be thoughtful, only made her feel more alone. That evening, she asked him to meet her at the cafe they always went to. She chose the back corner, where the lighting was dim and everything felt muffled. Lucas arrived on time, looking polished, composed, but to her, he no longer felt safe. He felt distant. I wanted to hear your explanation in person, she said, her eyes fixed on his. Lucas nodded. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. There's no good excuse. I was afraid that if you knew, you'd think everything between us was fake. Ella let out a dry, brittle laugh. If you were afraid I'd lose trust in you, then you should have told me. Trust doesn't grow in shadows, Lucas. I had a right to know. A right to choose. You're right, he whispered. I messed up. Not just messed up, she said, her voice cracking. You thought you were helping me, but really, you were protecting yourself from the discomfort of watching me fall. Ella, you said you loved me, she pressed on. But love isn't about creating invisible safety nets. It's about presence, about honesty. Let me fall, Lucas. Let me fail. Let me figure it out, even if it hurts. Lucas's mouth opened, then closed. There were no words that would fix this, and Ella, she was already unraveling. If I hadn't found out, would you ever have told me? She asked, eyes shimmering. Or would I have kept living in a beautiful illusion built by someone else, like I did with Ryan, until the truth cracked me open again? He reached for her hand. She pulled away. Ella stood up, her lips trembling, one hand wiping the tears now freely falling. I can't do this, she whispered. Not because I hate you. I don't. I love you. Lucas's eyes widened, just for a second. And that's exactly why it hurts more, she went on, voice breaking. Because I love you, but I also feel trapped. Not by you, Lucas, by what your love has accidentally done to me. He sat frozen, the pain in his face matching hers. Loving you makes me feel vulnerable in a way that I'm not ready to be, she said. And love, real love, shouldn't feel like surrendering my independence. He remained silent, still, defeated. I need to walk away from this, she said, tears spilling faster now, not to punish you, but to protect what little control I have left. She turned, walking away from the table, each step pulling something essential out of her chest. And at the door, she stopped, looked back one last time. Her eyes were red, raw. If I ever grow strong enough to love again, the man I love has to let me stand on my own, without a net, without a script. Then she walked out. The bell over the door chimed softly, like goodbye. 3 weeks passed. Winter had arrived in full, cold winds and slate-gray skies. Ella buried herself in work, trying to focus on color, lines, light. But every time she picked up her brush, Lucas's face would emerge, like a stroke she couldn't erase. She missed him. The message came at 1 a.m. Ella was working late when her phone buzzed. A strange number flashing across the screen. She almost ignored it, but something inside her said, "Pick it up." "Is this Ms. Monroe?" a woman's voice asked, breathless. "I'm calling from Roosevelt Hospital. A man named Lucas Hart was brought in after a car accident, and he's been calling your name over and over." Ella's heart dropped. She didn't ask another question. She grabbed her coat, ran down the stairs, and jumped into the first taxi she saw. Lucas had crashed on his way home from a charity gala. They said he swerved to avoid a dog crossing the road. He'd been unconscious since the moment the ambulance arrived. When Ella reached the hospital, she found 3 people already in the waiting room. Lucas's mother, father, and sister. Their eyes met hers with unmistakable coldness. Mrs. Hart stood up. "What are you doing here?" Ella straightened. "I came for the man I love." "You're not part of this family," Mr. Hart said, voice hard as steel. "We know who you are, and we don't need any more complications." Ella clenched her fists. She could have walked away. She could have folded like she once did. But that wasn't who she was anymore. "Maybe you don't need me," she said, her voice steady. "But your son is lying in there, whispering my name, and I'll be by his side until he wakes up or until my heart stops beating." No one replied. Ella stepped past them and entered the ICU. Lucas lay still, surrounded by machines and wires. His head was bandaged, his arm in a cast. Ella sat beside him, gently took his hand, still warm, and held it close. "I'm here, Lucas," she whispered. "I'm here now." He didn't respond, but his eyelids fluttered, and again, as if from a dream, he murmured her name, so faint, so broken, but hers. "Ella!" she cried, not out of pain, but because, for the first time, she knew this love was real. No fear, no doubt. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out the ring, the one Lucas had given her, the one she took off the day she left him. She slipped it back onto her ring finger and kissed his hand softly. "Lucas Hart," she whispered through trembling lips, "if you still want this when you wake up, I want to marry you. I don't need perfection, I just need the courage for us to walk through life together." Lucas woke up the next afternoon. His eyes opened slowly, hazy at first, then beginning to focus. The first thing he saw was her. "I'm here," Ella said, her voice cracking with joy. "I didn't leave, and I never will again." He reached up weakly, brushing her cheek. "The ring," he whispered. "I put it back on," she smiled through tears. "And if you're still as brave as you were before..." She got down on one knee beside the hospital bed, catching her breath. "Will you marry me, Lucas Hart?" Lucas blinked, as if the words took a moment to reach him. His lips curved into the faintest smile, and with effort, he lifted her hand to his lips. "Yes," he whispered. "For life." With that nod, even the heart monitor seemed to cheer. "For life," he said. 6 months later, they got married in a small garden in Brooklyn, the very place where Ella used to teach art to children, where she had once found herself again through finger paintings and laughter. Friends, kids, co-workers, and even former gallery visitors came to witness. She wore a simple white dress, a dried lavender tucked behind her ear. Lucas, his arm still bearing scars, held her hand as they exchanged vows. His eyes glowed like the first time he saw her standing in the rain. After the ceremony, they opened a small studio called Bloom and Light, a free art space for local children, where healing came in brushstrokes and shared silence. The room brimmed with sunlight, color, and soft giggles. Ella painted, Lucas ran the studio. Their life wasn't loud, wasn't cinematic, but every day was a new chapter written in choice, in grace, in real love. Their story wasn't perfect, but it was real, about two people who once shattered and then found each other again, not because of fate, but because they chose to believe. And belief, always, was stronger than any scar.